So with our lovely Miss W, we were gonna practice a little bit going to our bed. Ready, Winnie? She's a little distracted with some good smells. So when warming up with your lovelies, I do normally recommend to allow your babes to decompress in the environment or the bubble in which you're gonna practice in. So I normally do allow the pups time to decompress by sniffing and exploring the first little space that we're gonna practice during the session. And I know we've gotten into it where you have to think about your pup as, again, viewing the world through their sense of smell, which is why a lot of times when they're viewing their sense of smell, again, the way we would our visual eyes through everything, is sometimes not allowing them to go sniff out those sections means they're kind of walking into that environment blindfolded. And then for a lot of puppies, being allowed to decompress first and then come check in second means that they feel safe enough, nice job, Winnie, to go ahead and do so. If your babes are having a hard time bouncing back from that environment because it's constantly changing, like for example, if you're going for a real world walk, the environment is constantly changing from its visual to its smell to the sounds. Nice job, cuteness. And then from there, that means that your puppy is at some points becoming overwhelmed or overexcited. Nice, good little settle. So with 4 feet on the floor and the caboose. So we may find for our little lady, is let's say warming up in and around the yard is probably going to be perfect for her because it won't be so jarring where the environment won't be constantly changing for her. So I just wanted to warm her up a little bit with some of those puppy push-ups we were working on last time. She's doing a splendid job with those sitting positions. She has been getting much more comfortable with these downs as well. So remember, puppy push-ups just consist of, checking out the poop bag sticking out here. But puppy push-ups consist of getting your puppy comfortable, trying from downs to sits, from a down into a standing position, right there, yes. So if you want to call it up or stand, whichever floats your boat, I would recommend to rotate so it's not always the same position over and over. So maybe she's standing and we try to lower her into the down, right there. So she's like booty up in the air still counts, right? So she's sort of doing downward facing dog, which is, again, not the end of the world. The main goal is that we're still reinforcing her for any nice little attempt as she's rocking it. So again, as she's doing better, we'd want to empty our hand, get the behavior to happen, so down, and then feed right as she does it. So you want to go from, again, using the food, so I'm just going to toss it off so you can take a little breather, is in the beginning, the food helps create the behavior. So food be in the hand, we'd get the behavior like a sit, and we'd feed. Remember, we want to fade out the lure as quickly as we can, which means that if it's always food presented first and you change it up and she's not used to that, she's going to think it's not the same exercise. So in the beginning, right now, your puppy thinks food presented first, then do skill, then get the food. We want her to think, again, hand is empty. We go into the behavior, let's say our down, and then yes, and we feed for the behavior. So again, I know I've mentioned it. I don't love the wordage, but view it like the bribe where you'd get your thing before the work. And then later from there, it'd go from the bribe into the paycheck. So as opposed to bribing her with the lure first, we would then go ahead, the hand would be empty. I know the heat just came on again. So she's like, what the heck? So if let's say we're going into a sit, then we'd go yes and feed. So it might be coming from the other side, or you might grab your food right after. But if your puppy tends to wiggle real fast, I like to have the food at ready in the opposite hand. So again, my hand's empty, down, and then we'd go yes to feed. And then we'd go stand, and then yes to feed. And then we could go again, sit, and then feed once more. So remember that yes lets her know exactly when her body was in the correct position, or she was offering the right behavior, or whatever it might be, or even a feeling. So sometimes it could even be that you're offering certain sort of moments, so you feed yes for a skill set like your puppy push-ups. Other times you could be also feeding for feeling safe, for building confidence. She hears my little one tapping on her chair sometimes. So again, sit. Yes, and then again, down. And if we don't get her, you could, for example, re-lower the bum and then lower the front end and then feed for that. Good job. So the puppy push-ups, great option for our little lady. Nice work, cuteness. Another thing too is I do like to work practicing going to a target mat, like we were doing a little bit with Miss S earlier, and getting your puppy comfortable with going and vegging on a spot. This can be immensely helpful. Yes, nice job. So right there, she targets her mat. I'm going to feed her for that spot. It is nice that she has her own little mat from home, and don't worry if you don't bring one, but I love it because it means that then she can start to generalize this behavior, this skill, into different bubbles in your home or different environments, and then also to the classroom setting versus the home front. So for the stay behavior, this would be again where you're feeding your babe for being stationary, and let's say she tends to climb into the dishwasher to try to help you do the dishes, or maybe she's trying to bother you guys during dinner or whatever it might be. If there are moments where you are not ready to help her through the training or through the learning moment, put her away or put her in her safe bubble so she can't keep failing at things you don't want her to get good at. Though we could go ahead and have her set up on her bed and you could start to practice a bit with stay. So I would tell her stay. I don't use an open palm. If she gets confused or wiggles because I'm blabbing way too much for her, sit, stay, and then I'm going to feed her teeny little tidbits for holding the sit stay in the beginning. You'll see that my reps are really short and sweet because I want her to think that there's value in giving this weird thing a try. And we're building up that the part of the stay that is important is the being stuck. If she breaks, I could reapply my stay and then feed several crumbs. And then let's say we're about to lose her. If you find she can do good, maybe 2 or 3 little reps and there. Don't do 5 to 7 if that's too many for her to handle. So right here, I'm going to feed her last snack. I'm going to say all done. Then I like to wiggle my fingers or get my puppy up and wiggling, but I don't pair it with my recall. So recalls are just done in general. So you could just do a recall from, for example, a find it, and then you could do Winnie come and feed her from that. Or you could do recalls from your wait behavior. So I like to have stay there until I come to get you. So that way I'm feeding for being stationary, not for moving. I will do the wait in a little bit after this one, but we'll work a little bit more with this stay. So we're going to go ready. Winnie. She heard a funny noise from the building. So she's like, is the door open? It's just wiggly noises from the neighbors. So right here we might go, Winnie, come. And then yes, feed her for that. So now I'm going to go ahead, see if I can bring her back to her bed. Yes. I'm going to feed her for any time she places on the bed in general to build up value. But now I'm going to tell her to stay. I'm going to, again, rapid fire, try to keep her interest on the behavior. If she wiggles, because there's some weird noises, I'm going to feed super fast and then end before she goes to wiggle. So right here, I'm going to say, all done. And then I might wiggle my fingers. But you'll see the only time Miss W gets a snack, yes, is for while she's in the stay. So we're trying to build up value in going to the target spot in general. So you could just feed every time she places, make it seem really cool from her perspective. But most puppies think, yes, that being stationary might be the lamest idea ever. So we want to help her start to build, ready? So we'll get a little sit, value, stay in being in this spot and vegging. So if, again, there's noises or too many hard things happening, don't worry if your puppy at times falters or gets confused or breaks. So if, again, we always made this so hard or we paired it with scary things, she might start to think, gee, this is way too hard of a skill, or maybe this is sometimes a little overwhelming. Because if, let's say, I was making her go to her bed and stay as she heard a spooky noise and now she felt there's no escape from the scary, then your place behavior or stay can start to become negative. So I know I've mentioned, ready? Yes, I've mentioned where in some of the other videos, you can ruin a behavior like a sit or a down or a stay by pairing it with something spooky or overwhelming, and now it becomes sort of poisoned. So if, again, she's having a hard time, ready? Winnie. Ready? Bed. We might even work it. We're just going and targeting the bed and don't apply the stay is perfectly fine for starters. So let's say she steps off of it, bed. Yes. And I would just feed her for going to the mat. So again, Winnie, bed. Yes. And you could just make it just fun to target the mat for now. So if, let's say, this day was a little too challenging with the weird noises of the building for now, we could, again, sort of move her off and then Winnie, bed. Yes. And even if it's just her front little toes touching or just part of her bum or a partial lie down on the mat, I would still count those efforts because we want to make sure that even her smallest effort has value. Yes. And then when she's feeling comfortable, you can then start building in a little bit more with that duration. But a place behavior could be immensely nice for her to realize that, okay, instead of climbing in the dishwasher, I can then go do this, and maybe you give her a special chew. And then sometimes you're pairing a stay behavior with the exercise of going and enjoying your chew. And you could then intermittently, while she's licking or gnawing on some sort of product, feed her a couple snacks for also not moving from her place. Nice job. So Winnie, she's like, hold on, lady, there are some weird noises today. Winnie, yes, nice job. So we'll give her a little break from this, and then I want to work a little bit with weights, and then working those recalls from the weight position versus her stay. She's like, no, but I like my mat. That's very nice. So I'm going to feed her for that setup as well, because again, we're building value in that target. So we might go again, bed, and then yes to feed. Good job, Miss W. We'll take a little break.